This is Surge. It's a cross-platform software synthesizer plugin available for Windows, OS X, and Linux. Having only just started messing around with it recently, I've found even just the presets to be super inspiring, and I'm sure anyone who's more familiar with synthesizers in general could go insanely deep with all of the options Surge provides, settings that I'm only just finding out about, let alone becoming familiar with. But Surge is interesting for a few other reasons too. A good place to start is that it's open source. It was a closed source, professionally developed product until its creator, Klaus Johansson, released the source code since he wasn't going to be working on it anymore. That's just an exceptionally cool decision to make, in my opinion. And that was just under 2 years ago, in September of 2018. Here's what Surge looked like back then. Notice anything different? As you might have already guessed, I'm being facetious. The glaring hole in this UI is enough to make Vincentino weep. I'm talking, of course, about the tune button. What do you mean, the what button? Right here. In all its glory, the tune button. This baby will have you up and running with 5-tone equal temperament and under 1 minute per tone. Minutes per tone, of course, being the international standard for the difficulty in getting your synth to, play the pitches you want it to, dude. This baby takes scala files, so you can play anything from the harmonic series to Aphex Twin, keyboard mapping files, so that you can put whatever notes on whatever keys you want, and it also lets you set your own reference frequency. This is a judgment-free zone. Go ahead and set A right to 420 Hz. So how did we get here, the gold standard for alternative tuning, from here, the old standard of 12-tone hegemony? I had the privilege of speaking with Microtuning superstar Jacky Ligon to find out. For those of you not familiar with Jacky's work, he's a composer, developer, and visual artist who built the Zen Arts line of synthesizer plugins, which were also used heavily by UK drum and bass wizard Sevish. You can even hear both of them on a single release. Just check out Subversio, which includes 3 tracks from Sevish, 3 from Jacky Ligon, and 3 from Tony Dubshot, each one worth a listen in my opinion. While the Zen Arts synths are no longer maintained, Jacky has obviously been busy elsewhere. Apparently, he has a bit of a pet peeve of virtual instruments only going halfway with their tuning implementation, with scala tuning file support, but no keyboard mapping support. As someone with an Axis 49, I can understand his frustration. So when he came across the Surge project, where they had already laid the foundation for .scl support, that's the tuning file, he jumped at the chance to be a part of implementing what has become one of the best implementations of the complete Scala SCL KBM format he's seen in software. Very cool. While in some implementations like Pianotex, which is very good, the mapping is required to be monotonic, that is, strictly increasing throughout the keyboard mapping. No such limitation exists in Surge. One thing to note, though, is that while their implementation seems to be spot on, many presets think of their effects in terms of steps. And so, when you change the size of those steps via a tuning file, you do change those effects. That means that many presets will sound anywhere from slightly to completely different, depending on the step sizes of your tuning. You'll get especially bizarre results if your mapping is non-monotonic, with higher pitches mapped to lower MIDI notes. Luckily, these undesirable behaviors can be tempered or even eliminated by adjusting the effect that's causing the problem. For example, here's the keyboard preset Dirt, out of the box, played via my Axis 49 with a highly non-monotonic mapping for top mean tone tuning. And here's what it sounds like after lowering the SLFO amplitude and the ENV2 amplitude. These edits can, of course, be saved as your own user presets, and do remember that if your mapping is monotonic with regularly sized steps, it will probably work fine with most of the presets out of the box. As a side note, I'm open sourcing the program I wrote to generate scala tuning and keyboard mapping files for the Axis, given the generator and period sizes you would like mapped onto your Axis in an isomorphic layout. The program is crude and it has no GUI, but at least it's out there. Of note before finishing up, is that the Surge Synth dev team is also working on what they're calling the Tuning Workbench synth, a synthesizer for learning and experimenting with microtonal scales, and it allows you to adjust your current tuning in real time instead of having to reload files. The Workbench is a complete implementation of their tuning library, an MIT-licensed programming library inspired by the work that went into adding tuning functionality to Surge. This library makes it possible to add tuning support to other synth projects. Other synth projects like Dexed, which models the Yamaha DX7. The Surge Synth team has its own fork of Dexed with tuning support already added. Each of those things on its own is just too cool, and I can't wait to take the Tuning Workbench synth for a spin, see what Dexed has to offer, and maybe someday actually make use of their C++ library myself. I'm also excited to continue exploring what Surge has to offer, and to become at least a little bit less ignorant about sound design in the process. Besides the drums, every instrument in the background track to this video was an instance of Surge, and the tuning was top mean tone. Link to the track on SoundCloud in the description. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check the description for links to everything I covered in this video. And thank you to my supporters on Patreon as well for funding the production of this video. If you liked this video and would like to support me, my Bitcoin Cash address is on screen, or you can set up an automatic per video contribution on Patreon. Thanks again. See you next video.